We're rapidly approaching half distance in the Elite Investor Club A-Z of investing. I'm doing something unusual with this episode because I want to share the teachings of one of my most important mentors. K is for Robert Kiyosaki. I love reading books, especially books about personal development, building businesses, and creating wealth. I tend to have 3 books on the go at any one time, and I probably average about 30 books a year. My credo is that if I can learn one pearl of wisdom from each book and implement it, then I have 30 new ideas working for me each and every year. But all books are not created equal. Some have the ability to fundamentally change the way you think and act forever. One such was Robert Kiyosaki's first and best book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. His genius is to use the power of storytelling to make the sometimes dry world of saving and investing a lot more engaging. While his natural father worked in the education sector earning a pittance, his best friend's father was a business owner and property developer in Hawaii. Robert spent a lot of his childhood around this successful entrepreneur and took on board the free lessons he was given. Kiyosaki then had the classic entrepreneur's experience of building a business only to see it fail. Painful lessons were learned about cash flow and supplier management. Lessons that found their way into Rich Dad, Poor Dad as the cash flow quadrant. Real wealth lies in moving from the employee class to the business owner class, and ultimately in moving from the business owner class to the investor class. Long-term sustainable wealth comes from owning a portfolio of income-generating assets. Arguably the most important lesson of the book, and certainly the most controversial when it first appeared almost 20 years ago, is that your main home is a liability, not an asset. I bet that statement still caused you to do a mental double-take. It runs so counter to everything we're indoctrinated with about getting onto the property ladder. And yet the principle is simple. If something regularly puts money in your pocket, it's an asset. If something regularly takes money out of your pocket, it's a liability. Now do you see why your main home cannot qualify as an asset? If you have a lot of equity in your home and you downsize to a cheaper place to realize that equity, then you can invest the leftovers in assets that will provide income. But while you still live in that inert pile of clay, slate and concrete, all it's doing is leeching money on council tax, maintenance and energy, even if you're not mortgaged up to your eyeballs just for the privilege of living in it. Kiyosaki shares my mission to end financial illiteracy in the world. While I focus on those in their 40s and 50s, he's done a lot to get financial education onto the curriculum in schools. He also invented the cash flow board game to reinforce the need to accumulate assets if you want to win the game of life. He even showed the power of personal branding by charging £200 for a board game when all the rest are around 1/10 of that. In reality, it doesn't really teach anything you couldn't learn by playing Monopoly, but there are cash flow clubs springing up all around the world where people meet not just to play the game, but to be around like-minded folks. Exactly the reason that people join the Elite Investor Club. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. If you've yet to read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, why are you still watching me? Click the link in the description and order that book now. And I very much hope that Robert Kiyosaki changes your life as much as he's changed mine. The bellwether for global interest rates is America's Fed, headed up by Janet Yellen. Every statement she makes is analysed for any hint that rates may be finally on the move.